Yeah, very famous clip, this one.
Hotel, just like my favourite Bond villain, I've filled a small swimming pool with over 100 red-bellied piranhas, and they haven't eaten for days.
Basically an experiment. So this is all about TV, it's about showing, not telling. It's all very well saying, the point I'm trying to prove is that they don't always go for you, piranhas, but had a very creative director on this. Okay, well let's set up an experiment, let's prove that, let's demonstrate it.
Everybody knows about sharks being bloodthirsty killers. Just wondering if piranhas have the same kind of sensitivity to blood.
What we're investigating here is behaviour, but in terms of the anatomy, you know, those teeth are just, they are capable of just taking out a clean bite in a fraction of a second. The question we're looking at here is, do they have the inclination to do that or not?
That's definitely getting a reaction. There's a number of fish have come into that cloud of blood and they're looking around. They want something to chew into. There we go, it's the first nibble, the first nibble, the first nibble. And there they are, they're all piling in. Once the first one started, there we go, they're all over it now. Piranhas react to the sound and movement of another piranha feeding, attracting them to the scene and inciting a feeding frenzy. As soon as one piranha takes a bite, it moves away.
This is making me nervous just watching it. It's all flooding back now.
They are known for stripping their food to the bone in just minutes. There we go, meat definitely works. I just wonder now how they might react to something that's alive.
So I was thinking that I was just going to get in the water, sit there we go, they're not touching me, then get out. And I got in and we had a script meeting that went on probably about 10 minutes. What am I going to say? Then I'm delivering the line to the camera and the sound recorders kept saying, no, 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 somebody's chopping down a tree in the background or something like that. I ended up there probably about half an hour and all this time the fish are just getting more and more confident, they're coming closer and closer. Some of them were going behind me, they're swimming between my legs. I did end up quite nervous, so I was in there longer than I was banking on.
These piranhas were tearing into a piece of dead meat just a couple of minutes ago, but they're just not interested in me. So what is it that turns piranhas into vicious, murderous killers? That is what I want to try and find out. It's a fish. On a remote lake in Guyana, I've just hooked a super-sized arapaima on a fly.
So a very big fish on light tackle.
It's coming.
All I have to pull in this giant is a thin rod and a wobbly canoe.
Very much a two-man operation this. Controlling the boat is a hugely important part of the process.
I'm trying to stop the fish coming to the surface. If it jumps, it could spit out the hook. But it seems the fish is calling the shots. In a bit more, please.
Bit of a clumsy boat exit here coming up. Slippery, muddy bank.
This fish weighs at least 250 pounds. Keep holding, because I'm
I'm just going to pause this here because there's a lot going on. This bit happens very quickly. Arapaima are potentially very dangerous fish. They don't have particularly big teeth. They're not going to bite you, but what they can do is they can bash you with their head. And the thing is, like most fish's bodies, they can flex from side to side. So we're trying to wrestle it into submission. And the thing is, if I'm not careful, what I don't want to do is get my face to the side of its head, because if that happens, it can just whack me, potentially knock me out, knock my teeth out or whatever. But if I'm on top of its head, I'm okay. It can move around from side to side. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get it so that its head is here and prevent it from spinning around so that it can then flex sideways. So it's a bit of a comedy moment, but there's a lot of very serious considerations going through my head at this point.
Look at this! Arapaima on a fly.
And you can see there what I've just been talking about. My head during that whole process has been above the fish's head. I'm making sure that at no point am I down to the side of it, because just a fraction of a second would be enough for it to turn the tables in that situation.
This thing, it's actually, I was going to say, it's built like a missile. This is a tired fish, believe it or not. Two of us can hardly restrain it.
And if you look, I'm holding it there with its mouth just out of the water. Arapaima is very unusually, it's an air breather. This is a fish that comes to the surface and takes a gulp of air to oxygenate its blood. So I'm holding it there so that it can do this easily. If I were to hold it down in the water, that would be the wrong thing to do for this particular fish.
It is just, doesn't it look like a missile? Long, streamlined body. I'm thinking about 3 times the size of the one that hit me. Sent me flying, left me in pain for over a month. This thing came flying at you. Hit you in the right place, shall we say the wrong place. You wouldn't know about it. Just a final flashing, fleeting moment and then lights out for good.
Frustrated by my failure to catch a giant muskie, I've called on the spirit of Eagle Lake.
Yeah, what I was doing right at the beginning there was a little bit of tobacco on the rock, and this is a traditional way of making an offering to the spirits of the water. I tend to do this quite a bit on River Monsters episodes. I will maybe I'll speak to a witch doctor or a shaman. Some people do say to me, what are you doing that for? Is it just to make the program a little bit more colourful? But you know, very often a lot of these old rituals, they are very much about respecting the water. They make you think about what you're doing, and so I think, you know, it's not just gratuitous. You know, sort of a little bit of local colour. It's a little bit deeper than that. Anyway, what happened? I suddenly hooked this fish after days and days and days of nothing happening. So coincidence or something else going on?
After endless days of failure, I've switched to lightweight gear, just to catch something small and get back my confidence.
I'm worried about the line. This is incredibly weak line.
So anyway, just to let's be a bit quantitative about that. This is 6 pound breaking strain line, a small hook on the end, and there is no wire anywhere. So this is, I think I know by now that this is a muskie. Muskie have teeth, they're very sharp teeth. There's rocks down there. By rights, I'm not going to get this in. In fact, I think I wasn't even particularly worried, because I just thought, we're not going to get it in. Let's just have it on the line for as long as possible, so we've got a bit of a spectacle for the TV cameras. I never imagined that it was going to be any more than that.
It's a massive muskie on 6 pound line. We're never going to get this in. I'm just going to let that drag go very loose.
My line just has to touch a rock, a tooth, or even the gill plate, and it'll snap.
We're going to try and get it near the boat. No, it's going down again. Nice little fish.
Oh, she's huge. Keep her head down. That's a huge fish.
All my hopes are hanging on the slenderest of threads.
I almost can't bear to watch this, even now, even though I know how it finished up, and you know, I had no belief that this was going to come into the boat. Suddenly it's next to the boat, but then it's just going down, and with this gear, I'm thinking, you know, I have no control over this at all. To this day, 1 minute it's several feet from the net, then it's in the net, and how that happened. I mean, people talk about luck a lot with fishing, and I like to say, lots of people who fish, no, luck's got nothing to do with it. It actually does have a little bit to do with it. A lot of it is, you have to do everything right as far as you can, but there's always a little percentage where things can go your way or maybe not. The fishing gods were definitely smiling on me on this particular occasion.
This is the monster from Spirit Rock. It's a big muskie. 6 pound line, tiny bait, sacred site, made the tobacco offering.
And actually, if I just pause it there, one thing I was really wanting to see, I wanted to see where the hook was, because the mouth on this thing is like that, and my hook is tiny, and the mouth is full of teeth. So if that is inside the mouth, it should just go through like cotton. And it's just nicked. A muskie has a little bit of bone on the upper jaw, and it was just nicked in the end of that. So it was, you know, in a parallel universe, this didn't play out this way at all. It was just gone instantly. But as catches go, pretty miraculous, really.
That has to rank as one of the most extraordinary catches of my life. We have got a muskie.
I must have made over 13,000 casts, and it's only when I stop trying to catch one that a muskie finally bites.
That's the hook. That's the line. Look at that line, it's like cotton. And that was just in the corner of the mouth.
There are certain moments like that where it is almost like being there again, and I just find myself, I almost react physiologically. I'm almost on the edge of my seat. I know what the outcome is, but I'm still holding my breath to make sure that that actually happens.
Looking at it, you can tell it's the supreme predator. It just has this attitude problem. It's the absolute top predator of these waters, and it knows it.
So what we got here, this is setting up an unnatural situation, but to prove something or demonstrate something about a fish's behaviour.
This is a bit like a boxing ring. It's about the same size. There's 35 fish in here, nearly as big as I am.
You can tell I'm a little bit nervous here.
It's a simple matter of netting one. But this is exactly what I was doing when I took the full force of an Arapaima headbutt to the chest. And I have been warned that these fish are particularly violent.
Lots of instructions here, lots of things to take in, and this is happening in English and Portuguese, so a bit of lost in translation. I'm trying to make sure that I understand exactly what I'm supposed to do, but they're in a bit of a hurry just to get going. This is again one of those moments, I know what's going to happen, but there we go. And back then, shooting high-speed film, which you then see in slow motion, this was a really big deal. You see this kind of thing all the time now, but back then it was a really hard thing to do. One thing you can see there really nicely, you can see the red tail on the fish. Arapaima in the indigenous language is called the pirarucu, which means the red fish, and that's because of this vivid red coloration that you get on them, which you can just see really well there. People are fascinated looking at fish tanks, for example, in dentist waiting rooms. But for me, just watching that slow motion of, normally you don't see those fish, but just watching them swimming through the air in slow motion, it's just fantastic. It's an interesting fish. It's a real mixture of beautiful and ugly. They have this fairly hideous, gnarly head, which is all sculpted bone. Then they've got this beautiful coloration, and then their movement is well, in the air like that is really quite beautiful. One of the most fascinating fish from my past, full stop. I think we've got one. And if you see what he's doing there, he's putting his hand round its head, because you know what you don't want. If he's not doing that, if take away that hand, and that fish is going to flex, and they can only flex sideways, he's going to smack that bony head into the other guy's face. We're all a good 150 pounds, three of us to restrain a 60-pound fish, maybe.
Oh, now we're going to let the head go. Let the head go. This is the They wanted one to eat. That one was too big. They want to get a smaller one. I think I'm just going to leave them to it.
Yes, fishing with a difference, so it's not always with a rod. That's one of those things. I'm really glad that I did it, but if somebody said to me, go and do that again, I would be more than a little bit hesitant.
I'm going to have to go for a swim.
I don't know what I'm thinking, apart from being desperate not to lose this fish.
So this was the very, very first episode of River Monsters. And back then, we all thought this was just going to be one program, that would be it. But we are on the trail of something really, really impressive. And I've got something on the end here which I really, really don't want to escape. And I think it's true to say if this fish had escaped, the whole of River Monsters would never have happened. So there's an awful lot at stake here. So I jump in the river. A lot of people think this is an act of complete craziness. But I had actually, this is something I'd thought about. I'd looked downriver, I'd checked out all the water. It wasn't something that I planned to do, but this was my last ditch strategy. If the fish did take off, my plan was, I couldn't follow it down because there was a cliff. My plan was jump in the water.
I don't know what I'm thinking, apart from being desperate not to lose this fish, regardless of my own safety.
quick comment about the t-shirt there. The t-shirt is probably more holes than shirt, and a lot of people say to me, have you still got that t-shirt? And what was interesting, we used that shirt partly as a sort of a device to show the passage of time. It started off as an intact t-shirt, and gradually as the programme went on, it just got more and more ragged to show this epic hunt that I was on. The boss of the production company I work for, at the end of this, he said to me, I hope you've burnt that shirt. And I hadn't actually at that point, but I did throw it away. And he then came up to me and said, you know, I was joking, that you know, it's a relic equivalent to something like the Turin Shroud. I mean, that, you know, that has real historical significance, but unfortunately it's in landfill somewhere, so it no longer exists. The shot that's coming up, it just gives me the shivers every time I see it. It's not just about catching the fish, it's getting the moment on camera as well, and this is a classic example of what happens when you get that right.
Wait. Now! That is a serious sized gunch. That is a man-sized animal. That is as big as a person. It is bigger than a lot of people around here.
Up to this point, nobody had really seen much in the way of freshwater fish on TV, and one reason for that is a lot of freshwater fish, they live in conditions like that, very poor visibility. Even the best cameraman in the world, you drop them in, they're just not going to be able to film anything. And the other thing is, a lot of freshwater fish are not particularly pretty. If nobody can see you, what's the point of being good looking? People are more familiar with seeing all those beautiful fish swimming around on coral reefs and stuff like that. Something like this is pretty hideous, but you reach a point where something is so hideous that it actually becomes interesting, fascinating even. And I think, you know, when people saw this, they were just blown away by its appearance, its size, and like I say, getting this fish out of the water to have a look at it, this fish led to everything that came afterwards.
That is a big fish. They do exist, the gunch do exist. 6 foot of muscle behind that mouth, and those teeth are just like shark teeth.
Very unusual for a catfish. Most catfish don't have teeth really to speak of. They have sort of sandpapery pads, so those sharp teeth, which would be very good for gripping, very unusual for catfish.
Okay, is it off the ground?
Now, yes.
Okay, 166.
Yeah, not a fish, but it's like a fish with legs. No fishing rod in sight, just me and hands.
But understand, the problem is, I'll just have the tail, a little bit of tail sticking out. So hold the tail, grab tight. Okay, so grab tight, and then in the net. Okay, I'm worried it might double round and have a go at me.
Yeah, I mean, just grabbing something, it sounds a bit sort of unsophisticated, but when you're sort of going hand to hand with something, there are often specific things to remember. In this case, there's only a tail sticking out, so that's the only place I can grab, but these are very flexible animals and very, very sharp teeth. There's actually something very funny about this clip. Because I'm wearing a wetsuit, I'm too buoyant to get down to the bottom of this bit of river to grab the salamander. So I kept taking a breath of air, going down, and I couldn't go down. So what happened, I rigged up a belt and a sort of a string bag, and I put some big rocks in this bag to take me down to the bottom. Now the thing is, that all worked very well, but because I was concentrating on what I was doing, I totally forgot that I had these rocks hanging from my waist, and this sort of plays into what happens next.
I have caught a Hanzaki, better known as the giant Japanese salamander, one of the
I'm pausing that because you can see, I mean, it's almost happening too quickly, but the way it's doubling around with its mouth open like that, it's getting very close to my hands, and it showed here earlier on these rather gruesome pictures of injuries of people that have been bitten by that. But I'm sort of shouting this sort of gibberish, and it's all a very dramatic scene, this. And what's actually going through my head, although it's not apparent from this, is that as I'm running for the shore, because I basically want to get this thing securely on land where we can look at it, these rocks are banging on my legs, and I completely forgotten about the rocks, and I didn't know what it was. Something's banging me on the legs, and I thought maybe it's Dad or something was coming out and having a go at me. So this is a pretty sort of hectic but very dramatic scene, very memorable.
He wasn't too amused by the fact that he was just pulled out of his hole like that.
Yeah, so fish, obviously, you've got to get them back quickly in the water. You know, this being an amphibian, obviously, it's at home in the air as well. So it's not such an urgent thing to get it back in the water. But what we're going to do, we're going to see, you know, we're going to measure it. We're going to see if it's one that we've identified before. So, in fact, the only reason I'm able to work with this particular creature is because I am working with a scientist.
Mr. Toshimoto is monitoring the health of the Hanzaki population along this river,
It's nearly 10 pounds.
measuring, weighing and micro-tagging every one of his catches,
Counting all the digits, all normal.
so that when he recaptures them he can build up a clear picture of how this incredibly rare animal is faring in the wild.
Best part of a yard long.
So what I was doing here, like a lot of River Monsters episodes, I was investigating, in this case, a bit of local folklore, stories about some weird creature that lives in the rivers and is known for pulling in children. So it's one of those things, I mean, partly it's to make children be careful when they're around the water, but I wanted to find out, is there anything that actually does live in these Japanese rivers that resembles this beast in the legend?
Their survival is an important part of Japan.
I think when you're that ugly, only your mother is going to love you, isn't it?
Treasure still makes one last attempt to bite me, before disappearing, unfazed by his capture.
Right, I wonder what this one is. This is a special clip that's been lined up for me, whatever that means. Is that it?